So what would be some goals in therapy for the abuse victim? If I were seeing you in a therapeutic relationship, what would I want to see you be able to do? What would be the way that I would deal with you and help you to recognize the abuse and help you to respond to the abuse in a healthy way that would protect you? So the first thing that I would do is I've written, I will validate, validate, and validate. In other words, the first thing that you have to do with an abuse victim is you have to repeatedly and consistently say, it's okay to feel that. It's okay to be upset. Yes, that was confusing. Yes, that was discounting. Yes, that was minimizing. Yes, that hurt. Yes, that would bother me. Yes, that isn't okay. Over and over and over. Because the first thing that's going to happen that you're going to notice if you're dealing with an abuse victim is self-doubt, invalidation. The abuser has invalidated this person so much and for so long that the person is now invalidating themselves. So this person has to be validated. And to validate simply means to tell somebody that it is true. Yes, it is true. That was not a good way to treat you. Yes, that was not nice. Yes, that was mean. Yes, that wasn't okay. Yes, that upset you. Yes, that would upset me. Over and over. They're going to bring you stories after story after story. And you're going to have to you're going to be like a broken record, repeatedly saying, yes, yes, yes. That's not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. Yes, it was okay to react that way. Yes, it was okay to say that. Yes, it was okay to get upset. Yes, it was okay to feel that that was bad and mean and not okay. Yes, yes, yes. So you're going to validate, validate, validate. Your goal is to get the abuse victim to self-validate rather than invalidate themselves. You want to get that abuse victim to be able to say, I didn't like that, and believe themselves. That hurt me, and believe themselves. That wasn't okay, and believe it. I got upset. That was okay. You want them to be able, it's going to take a long time though, a really long time for them to get to that place. But that's what you're going to do, is you're going to repeatedly validate. The next one is you want to educate about abuse. A person has to know that it's abuse. So yes, you're going to have said things like, that's not okay, that was abusive. Now you got to tell them, what's abuse? What qualifies as abuse? What tactics are used by the abuser? What is emotional abuse? What is verbal abuse? What is physical abuse? What is sexual abuse? So you want to educate. You can do this by giving them books, names of books to buy, by giving them handouts, by having them watch videos, by you giving them the definition, by giving them examples, by pointing out to them the examples that they're bringing into you. And was that verbal abuse? Was that emotional abuse? Then even more specific, what was the tactic? Was that discounting? Was that minimizing? Was that ridiculing? Was that hostile anger? Was that an example of having power over? You want to help them understand the mindset of an abuser, why an abuser abuses, which we know it's because they have a belief system that they have a right to abuse, they have a right to control, they have a right to have power over. They don't see the victim as an equal partner, as an equal person. They don't see that person as having rights. So you want to educate about abuse, help them to get educated. The next thing is that you want to replace the confusion with clarity. And what I mean by that is when they come in and they're confused and they're going to describe to you a interaction with the abuser, something that happened, something the abuser did, they got upset, then the abuser came back on them. You want to help them walk through that and feel clear about what happened. Because abuse victims feel thrown off balance and confused based on what the abuser is saying and doing. They're gaslighting them. And when you're gaslighted, you feel confused and you feel off balance. The abuse throws you off balance. You think things are okay, and then wham, you get another abusive incident. You come out of it confused, not knowing what happened. The abuser's telling you one thing, you're thinking another thing, and you're confused with those two versions. So after you've validated, gotten them stronger with that, you've taught them about abuse, now you want to help them replace that confusion with clarity. Clarity, seeing clearly, and it's obvious. It's just, oh, duh, yeah, obviously. So they want to begin to see those patterns, to be clear about them. And then the next thing is you eventually want to teach them to get stronger and to be able to set some boundaries with the abuse. And that takes quite a lengthy amount of time. You want to help them to set what I call enforceable boundaries. And if they're wanting to stay in the relationship and they're willing to confront the abuser and willing to tell the abuser, which again, very few abusers actually change. But if you do ask an abuser to change, you have to list the minimal changes that are needed for you to stay in the relationship. The discounting, minimizing, ridiculing, threatening has to stop. Okay. I have to be spoken to with respect, given the opportunity to say no, and to have that not be a big deal. Whatever it is, you're going to list those specific things. And when you say things like treated with respect, define respect. Any term that could be misunderstood needs to be defined. So with behavioral, observable explanation. So when you say, don't discount me, what you mean is don't take what I say and rip it apart and tell me it's not valuable. Tell me that it's less important that I'm saying. So when you list behavioral things, you can literally tally them. Observable, you can say that happened twice today, and it happened 3 times yesterday. It used to happen 10 times a day. Okay, we're getting better. When one of those things happen, you want to be able to come to the abuser and say, you just discounted me, you just minimized me, you just ridiculed me, you were just using hostile anger with me. You want to tell the abuser, these are the changes that I need made, and get the abuser to have a written contract with you. Yes, I'll work with those things. Yes, I will do whatever it takes to make those changes. I value you in the relationship. I'll go to therapy, I'll read books, I'll be in a support group, I'll stay in it no matter how long. And so you want to be able to get a written contract and then watch. Are these things happening? The things you said had to change. Are the old behaviors happening, the abusive behaviors, or are the new behaviors happening to where there is not any abusive behavior? You want to be able to observe it and pay attention to whether or not change is happening. Then you want to maintain boundaries based on behavior. Okay, so if the person is continuing to do those things and you're separated, you're not getting back together. If the person is continuing to do those things but saying they're changed, you're not believing that. If the person is continuing to do those things but saying they're going to get help they're going to do this on their own, nope, not working. You need to go to therapy to get support. So whatever that is, you're going to maintain your boundaries based on the behavior. I'm not going to spend time with you. I'm not going to move back in with you. I'm not going to stop the divorce proceedings. Whatever that is. And then making decisions based on zero tolerance of abuse. The abuse is not okay. The abuse cannot happen. It can't be once in a while. It can't be, just I forgot, or denying that that's the problem, going back to the denial, going back to getting angry when you bring up the fact that it did happen, and the person can't say, don't tell me what to do, all the old stuff. Don't tell me what to do. You're always telling me what to do. You've always got to correct my behavior. You're a big know-it-all. you've got a big mouth, you're just a big nag, all those things can't be said anymore. If the person is continuing to do the behaviors that the person agreed to change, then you have to have been given permission to basically point out the behavior, and the person's response needs to be, I'm sorry, that was wrong. I will continue to work on not doing that. That is a repentant heart. That is a heart that says, I'm wanting to change. I don't want to hurt you anymore. I'm committed to this change. Now, if you're working with somebody who needs to get strong in a relationship to get to the point where they can confront the abuse, say no to the abuse, they've got to work on their codependency. Codependency is underlying the belief that they deserve the abuse, the belief that they're not important, the belief that they're not okay without being in that relationship, just the lack of strength, the lack of boundaries, the lack of ability to detach, all of those things. So you've got to work on the codependency. You got to understand codependency. You got to understand how to bring somebody from codependency to a place of being healthy and strong in a relationship, or if they need to get out of a relationship, strong enough to get out of the relationship. So I teach my 10 principles for people that are basically in what I call difficult relationships. For women in difficult marriages, my one book and my other book, the When Love Hurts, 10 Principles to Transform Difficult Relationships, are basically teaching people how to get out of being codependent. So you can look at those 10 principles. Teaching them those skills means that you will help them to overcome the codependency. And you've got to address the trauma and the PTSD, chronic PTSD, complex PTSD that a lot of people have after having been in abusive relationships, because they truly are traumatized. And sometimes that trauma can keep them in the relationship and prevent them from leaving the relationship. So dealing with the underlying trauma if they're still in the relationship and can't get out, or dealing with the trauma if they're out of the relationship and continue to being affected by that. So hopefully that will help you with either dealing with a client that you have who is struggling with abuse, or if you are in an abusive relationship, wondering how you can get strong enough to get out of it. You can use these goals for yourself. So thank you for watching this. I hope this is helpful. If you've got any questions about it, please email me. And also, I would highly recommend my books for helping you to address the codependency, and also my devotional. That's my 365-day daily devotional for Christians in difficult relationships. It's super helpful if you're struggling with being in a difficult relationship and being able to overcome all of the unhealthy things that we naturally do in our difficult relationships. So love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. God bless.